son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We have all your action from Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the Pennzoil 400, where we have 267 laps to have a shootout craft style, baby, Vegas style, where the Fords seem to be super fast. The stages this week are going to be at laps 80, lap 160, and then we race all the way to the finish.
The last time a Chevy driver won at Vegas was Harvick in 2015. Before that was Tony Stewart in 2012. This weekend, the two of them will combine their powers together and the momentum that they took from last weekend in Atlanta and take their Ford into victory lane again for 2 weeks in a row. The last Ford winner was Kez 2 years ago in 2016, and Kez has 2 career wins at Las Vegas. Am I foreshadowing anything?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you're foreshadowing your picks at all. It'll be chilly in the desert, unusually, with a high of only 57 when we're scheduled to go racing Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports Network. Yeah, that's going to be cold in the desert, and they've been dealing with wind today. Another thing that we need to talk about before we get into the picks, kids, is the Truex situation this weekend. During qualifying, the inner liner of Truex's rear tire came separated from the wheel and equalized the pressure in the tire. Fortunately for Furniture Row Racing and Martin Truex, it didn't have much of an effect on the car, and it even qualified fourth with that huge problem. However, Furniture Row Racing has to fix this problem, and to do so, they're arguing currently with NASCAR as to whether or not NASCAR will let them take that tire off of the car, fix the inner liner, and put that same tire back on the race car. If that happens, they possibly shouldn't be penalized and will still start fourth. If NASCAR decides to penalize them or says they can't fix the tire that way, Truex will start from the rear of the field, but for fantasy purposes will still be scored starting fourth. We thought that you all needed to know that and understand the situation before we got into any picks, because personally I think this is going to drive ownership percentage on Truex. If he's starting from the back of the field, it may be the lowest you'll be able to get Truex all season long. Liehr, your thoughts on Truex before we get into burning rubber?
No, definitely important information, brother, to pass on to everybody, and that's going to be huge to know that information. So keep in tune with it, with what's going on there, because if he does have to start from the rear field, obviously last week he did basically the same thing, but a little different this week because we got less laps that we're going to be having this week. And plus, scoring from a fourth position, that's a huge place differential to make up there.
Oh, yeah. Well, because he has to get it back all the way to fourth before he even
accumulates any points.
Right. All right, Liehr. It's time to burn some rubber, buddy. Do us the honors.
Well, it is late here. It's early Saturday morning in Kansas City. So the woman and the child are in bed, but do the best that I can without making it too noisy. But burning rubber Las Vegas style, baby!
Nice crap shoot, dude. And by the way, if you ever get the chance to play at a crap stable with Jamie Liehr, do it. It's a lot of fun, and usually you walk away winning some money. That or his penny slots. Like, the man has the beat on the right penny slots in Vegas. Like,
by the way, I just rolled a 2 and a 4 on the crap stable.
Nice. All right, buddy. Who's your pick to burn some rubber for us this week?
All right. Well, awesome to have you guys back again for another week of the show. Before I get started, last weekend in Atlanta, obviously an absolutely dominating performance by Kevin Harvick and the number 4 Stewart-Haas team, and they just went out and absolutely dominated the Xfinity race, also the Monster Cup race on Sunday. All the Fords have definitely looked fast so far in 2018, with Chevy really far with the new Camaro Z71 body. But Harvick will be starting on the outside of row 1 as he qualified second behind Ryan Blaney, who got his first pole of the season. And honestly, man, I expect Ryan Blaney to get a lot of those this season. That guy is definitely one of the best up-and-coming drivers on the circuit for sure. But his cost this week is $10,300, which is second highest on the board behind Truex Jr. Harvick has some really, really good stats here at Las Vegas. He's got 17 starts with that one victory 2 years ago, 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s. He was second fastest today in practice, so that would kind of obviously foreshadow what they're really going to be doing this weekend. But I think tomorrow, they're going to definitely have a great happy hour practice, and obviously look for those 10-lap averages, because those are going to play huge when it comes to seeing where everybody, as far as the length of the race goes out. But he's got an average start here of 19.6 with an average finish of 14.8. But as we all know, this crafty veteran is a momentum crusher when it comes to being on a roll. Harvick and the number 4 team are definitely going to be on a heater on Sunday, in my opinion. Definitely going to be rolling hot at the craps table in Vegas this weekend. I look for them to come out on Sunday, be a dominant performer, lead a ton of laps, and be the highest scoring driver again for 2 weeks in a row when the checkered flag flies on Sunday afternoon. He's definitely going to be a must-own play, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people are going to be on the Blaney and the Penske train, as they obviously are looking pretty fast this weekend. But don't forget about, Rowdy Busch, him coming home with his brother. Unfortunately, he qualified outside the top 10, but, Kurt qualified third. But, if Truex actually does start from the 4th position, I look for him to get a lot of ownership too, based on what that team did here last year. Look for Harvick to maybe be a bit overlooked in lineups, in my opinion, this weekend, which is really hard to believe. But I think that a lot of people are going to be concentrating, as we're going to be talking about the Penske team and some other cars this weekend, and kind of have overlooked Harvick a little bit. What's your opinion on that, brother?
Yeah, I love the Harvick pick. I think it's a great swerve. I think I don't think it should be a swerve. Last year at this race, I made Harvick my burning rubber play. I strongly believe in Harvick. I love when he gets on tears. And I think your analysis is spot on. The Chevys seem to be going through the same growing pains that the Toyotas went through last year with the new body style. Until we see them actually get through those growing pains, it's probably better off to assume that Toyota or Ford is going to just dominate races in the early part of the season. I really like that mentality for looking at your dominators and your potential race leaders. I love the Harvick pick. I also love the Rowdy pick starting 13th that you kind of snuck in there. And like you said, if Truex starts 4th and can actually start there, he may still be lower owned than what he should be, and you may still get a potential dominator, because you're talking about a guy that qualified 4th with a bad tire on his car, right? Imagine what happens if they get that car completely dialed in. That to me screams of awesome potential, and that's why I'm not even worried about rostering Truex, even if they start him in the back, at least on a lineup here or there. It's an interesting play that I want everyone to be aware of, and it comes with a lot of inherent risk. But, man, Harvick is as chalk as it gets without being the super chalk, and I'm going to take the super chalk this week, kids. My burning rubber pick is Team Penske, and by Team Penske, I mean all of Team Penske. Kez at 9,400 starting 8th. Logano 9,300 starting 10th. And Blaney 8,700 starting on the pole. All 3 cars are in play, and let me explain why. Blaney sitting on the pole is by far the riskiest of the 3, as he's sitting on the pole and is yet to lead a lap here in his career. Yet he has 2 top 10 finishes in his last 3 races, and that was before, kids, he was running in this Penske equipment. Logano, as a play, has finishes of 4th, 10th, 2nd, and 4th in his last 4 races here. And he also led 44, 47, 74, and 5 laps. Keselowski has 2 wins in the last 4 races here, with finishes of 1st, 7th, 1st, and 5th, while leading 53, 9, 24, and 89 laps respectively. Team Penske owns Las Vegas Speedway from a dominator standpoint, and with them starting Blaney on the pole, he should lead a chunk of laps. Kez starting 8th could get up there and lead a chunk of laps, and so could Logano. But even if Kez and Logano don't lead chunks of laps and it's a Blaney domination, their place differential and where they finish, based on their history, should be enough. I understand they're the chalkiest of chalk when you do any sort of research, but there's a reason why certain times you play the chalk, and in my opinion, this is one of those times. Team Penske, looks super fast, and just is going to dominate this weekend.
I can't disagree with you at all. I mean, congratulations to Ryan Blaney for his first pole of 2018. Like I said, I think that team is going to have plenty of those coming in 2018. And prior to the season starting, I was definitely on the Ryan Blaney, but also the Chase Elliott train as well. But as we all know, Chase Elliott's actually starting 6th this weekend. But those guys are still, especially Hendrick in general, are struggling to find speed so far in this young season. But Keselowski, without a doubt, with him starting in from the 8th position, is definitely going to be a value in my opinion. And two, at $9,400 for a guy that could move up and have place differential and obtain Dominator points with laps led, and Joey Logano with his Pennzoil Ford, with the main sponsor of the race, the Pennzoil 400 on his hood this weekend. That's another guy that's obviously done pretty well here. And last year was very interesting too, when we had the fight between Rowdy and Joey Logano, when he was being pretty aggressive and on the bottom line there, and just kind of lost a little bit of control and got up into Rowdy. But him and Keselowski finished, right there next to each other. I'm definitely going to have some exposure this weekend on Ryan Blaney and Keselowski and Joey Logano. I don't know. Do you really think it's going to be the chalkiest of chalk if you start all three together? Like, I don't know what you think the percentages are going to be with those three in a lineup. But, in my opinion, probably may do that once, but I would rather more kind of mix them up a little bit, maybe 2 of 3 or 1 of 3, and then mix them up with some other drivers, Harvick. But, I definitely love those guys this weekend, and they're going to, prove their fantasy value for sure.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of mix and matching, taking 1, 2, 3, taking all 3. I don't think salary constraints are an issue this week, as we'll get into value. There's a boatload of value plays. One might say there's a plethora of value plays. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Well, you know what, Liehr, I think we wrapped up our prime plays. So, Liehr, who is your value play, buddy?
Well, I'm actually going to be switching manufacturers here, and I'm going to be rolling with the number 19 JGR Coca-Cola Daniel Suarez Toyota vehicle as my value play this week. Obviously, just like the Chevys, but Toyota and JGR are off to a bit of a slow start in the 2018 season, except for Denny Hamlin. Obviously, we know that Eric Jones is kind of still learning the ropes of being in the 20. And Rowdy's kind of struggled, for the first 2 weeks as well of the season. But Denny Hamlin has kind of held his own for the 2 races so far in 2018. But I definitely think that Daniel Suarez this weekend has got a great shot at being a super value play this weekend. And there's, actually to look at it, and to be quite honest, there are a plethora of value plays this weekend. But Suarez qualified 18th for Sunday's race and was practicing today in the high teens in the 12th position. With the yellow strip off of his rear bumper, look for him to be aggressive, really aggressive this 2018 season. He's not a rookie anymore, so he kind of doesn't have to learn his ropes. He's been around a little bit now, and the more experience that he gains, I think the better driver that he's going to become. I definitely foresee that team getting a possible top 10 finish, and I find him very comparable to his counterpart, which is Eric Jones and his teammate at JGR, who's starting 9th. Definitely having a car that's starting in the top 10 and only being 2 of the Toyotas that are in the top 10. His cost this week is a very minimal cost of $7,300 for a guy that's in, major equipment. He only has 1 race here from last year where he started 11th and finished 20th. But look for Suarez to take his big, red Coke machine to the top 10 this week. And it's going to be a rad finish. And as Ken Swire would say, Hulk Hogan, eat your heart out, baby.
First things first, I am glad to see Coca-Cola be a full sponsor of a car, even though I'm a Pepsi guy.
Awesome.
That is awesome. I want Pepsi and Coke to get back into the battle of full car sponsorships. I think it's fabulous for the brand and fabulous for the sport. I like the Suarez play, Liehr. The problem I have is I have 7 plays that I have being better than that play. And guess what, kids? I'm going to give y'all 7 because that's what Poppa does at value time. Play number 1, Amarola at 7,700, starting 29th. This is a top 15 car week in and week out with a driver not named Danica behind the wheel. You kind of have to love him in this spot. Cole Custer at 6,400. Even though this is a Rick Ware Racing entry, it's really Stuart Haas's 5th car. Look for a positive place differential from this rookie. Ty Dillon at 6,500, starting 31st, is also a play. The only problem with Ty Dillon is we know one of the other touts in the community loves to tell people to play him, and his ownership is usually higher than what it should be. Bubba Wallace at 6,700. Like this car, but it just didn't have any speed. If they find some speed at practice, Bubba Wallace is a play where he qualified. Chris Buescher at 5,700, starting 28th. AJ Allmendinger at 6K, starting 27th. Ryan Newman at 7,100, starting 25th, is maybe the most egregiously underpriced and underqualified in the field. The Rocket is just a guy you're going to want to roster this week, in my opinion. And Jamie McMurray, 7,400, starting 22nd. His teammate is starting in the top 5, and he's usually a top 15 car. That should equal at least +7 place differential. I love the Jamie Mack play, even though he's not in the McDonald's ride. This is a sweet NASCAR hat. Liehr, your thought on the 7 guys that I like better than your Suarez play?
Well, first, before we get to that, make sure you guys get to your local McDonald's and get a Shamrock Shake while those bad boys are out, because that is by far the best shake ever, in my opinion.
Oh, shenanigans.
No, I mean, Jamie Mack starting 22nd. That guy is definitely a lot better car than a 22nd, starting car. The problem is trying to find all the areas and the money to get all these guys in there with the Dominator guys. If you're going to roll, a 3 Penske team, you're going to have to take some of these drivers like the Buschers and the Allmendingers from JTG. I do like Ty Dillon as well, but like you said, unfortunately, he's probably going to come with a very massive ownership percentage, qualifying higher than 30th position, being there in 31st. But Ty Dillon is always a good play. But I'm right there with you, brother. My other favorite, I was torn between doing 2 value plays, which normally the idea is to stick to 1 value play. But
I try to provide our viewers with the most information I can.
But yeah, I definitely think that the Rocket is going to be rocketing his way up through the field this weekend in Las Vegas. So, but I'm definitely going to be all over the Ryan Newman play. But definitely some good plays out there, and I do love the Chris Buescher play this weekend. So a lot of value plays this week, bro, and there's going to be a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made for sure.
That's what I meant by, I don't think salaries are that tight. There's so many value options that you can go, and you can even reach down. Like, you don't even need this week to reach down to the super value.
Yes.
You might do that to try to get different, but there's not a need to, actually, that I've seen in my roster constructions thus far. Have you seen any need to super reach down below any of the guys that we've mentioned so far?
No, but last week the winner of the Big Beast contest had Cole Witt in there because he, was a super low value play and actually finished in the top 30 from his position. But I think this week the lowest that I'll probably going to go is probably Ty Dillon at 31st, and I do like the Cole Custer play too. I didn't mention him really much in the value play, but this is a youngster that is definitely up and coming in the sport. Been having some great success in the Xfinity series, and it's just a reflection for Stuart Haas to get one of their drivers up and get some experience up in the top level of the sport. And he's, for his price, I think it's $6,400. I mean, they're actually giving him a higher price than guys that have been in, the series for a lot longer, like Chris Buescher and Allmendinger. So, it's going to just take that right combination of guys, and you can get it done definitely without having to reach way down in the depths of the guys starting with even. I mean, are you even toying with the fact of any Matt DiBenedetto, DiBurrito for your value play this week?
Dude, DiBurrito hasn't steered us wrong in weeks, like in years for the most part. I love the DiBurrito play. I just don't know that you need to get down to him. Like,
Right.
there's just not necessarily a need. And to be honest, there's better place differential picks with just a little bit more dollars that I can get into this week. So I understand the DeBurrito play. I may even make one. I don't know. But I'm not seeing the need to at this point. It's time for everybody's favorite segment. Time to talk some trash on some drivers. I think we're sticking to drivers this week. At least I am. Liehr, who you got to send to the garage, buddy?
Man, it pains me to go down this road. Because it's one of those situations where you always want to think the best of a driver. And at some point, we all see our drivers, and eventually, they get to that point where they're not producing like they were in the past. And if it's, who knows what it is. Is it age, or is it the equipment, or is it relationships going on within the garage and within the organization and the team that they belong to? But I'm going to go to the king of our sport right now, and that's Jimmie Johnson. The 48 team is just definitely not performed to even close to where they've been in years past, and just have looked awful so far in 2018. And along with Hendrick as a whole organization in general, Bowman hasn't performed very well. The bright spotlight has been Chase Elliott, and obviously William Byron's still trying to get his wheels under him on how to make it in the top series. But I definitely hate saying this, but he's currently riding a 25 race winless streak, which is the longest of his career. He is starting 14th this week and cost of $8,900, which is the first time in a long time that I can ever remember this caliber of driver being under $9K for a very, very long time. But we're watching one of the future Hall of Famers kind of go down the proverbial tube, or is this just a bump in the road for the 48 team? I don't know. But all I know is that you need drivers to accumulate points in your fantasy team and finish the race. And obviously Jimmie Johnson and the 48 team with Chad Knaus have had some great successes here at Vegas, but they have definitely not gotten it done, for quite some time now. One thing that is crazy, though, is he does, like I said, have some pretty good stats here at Vegas. He's got 4 career wins, which is obviously the highest active driver, but he's also got the most starts, which is 16 starts, and has at least 19 laps led in every single race within the last 6 starts here. Is this West Coast swing going to surge Jimmie Johnson and the number 48 team back into its old ways? But not after he's done another crap out weekend, I think this weekend in Sin City. So is he worth playing one time because he is who he is and where he starts? I'm actually going to say no this weekend. And believe it or not, I'm not going to have any exposure on Jimmie Johnson. And until that team can show me that they're back kind of in the fold and they can at least get a top 5 finish, I think I'm just going to start avoiding him every single week, because it just looks like, man, they don't have it there. And I don't know if they need to make a change, whether that him and Chad Knaus have been together for such a long time that, when you go through something new and you have a change, it kind of gives you that re-energy or that reboost into giving it everything you got. Honestly, man, I think they need to hit the reset button and maybe, pick a different position for Chad Knaus to have at Hendrick Motorsports, maybe overall for the teams, but inject some new blood into that 48 and give Jimmie Johnson something new to look forward to.
Man, I thought we were going to get through an entire episode of the show where I didn't think you were smoking crack. But no, you said...
And it's not Tide Pods this week either.
Tide Pods, crack, crank, whatever it is you're on. You just advocated separating the winningest driver and his crew chief in NASCAR history, son. Like, that is maybe the most ignorant argument I've ever heard, because they're on a little bit of a schneid.
We're talking since spring of last year.
Okay, didn't the West Coast swing bring him out of his funk last year and get him winning, and then he started having a bad second half of the season? I seem to remember. Keep in mind, I think you're absolutely spot on about most of your arguments. This is the problem I have. And I know he's cost me several hundreds of dollars in lineups over the past year and a half. But, man, a driver of that caliber, to just say you're going to start fading him, I completely understand it. But, man, that's bold. And I didn't have a problem with the fantasy analysis. The problem I had was that you were advocating splitting up the most successful team in NASCAR history before they break through and own it all. Like, that's never going to happen. They're going to get it done. They'll get it fixed. They're going through the same growing pains that Toyota's going through. They had a bad streak at the end of last year, and then the car change, I think, is just really screwing with them. So we'll see. I think they'll figure it out. And with Liehr and mine's luck on the going to the garage segment, this may actually be the week that he pulls it out and dominates dominates the crap out of the team.
Would he be worth a one play? In my opinion, no, but maybe you guys out there do it and you prove me wrong. I mean, I'm sure after this conversation, I know Big Poppa Pump over here is going to be.
Oh, I'm definitely rostering a lineup with Jimmy Johnson just because.
I know you are.
All right,
just
guys.
to spite me, because when it happens, then he can freaking throw it in my face.
I may be rostering a lineup for the sole function just to give Liehr crap next week if it hits. And that may be worth the money I light on fire for it. I'm just saying. Oh, man. No, my go to the garage pick this week is Austin Dillon at 7,600. Maverick's ego has been writing checks his body can't cash. Huh? Top Gun reference? Oh, you guys suck, millennials. With the win in the 500 and
the 7:30 show is exactly like the 5:30 show.
All right, with his win in the 500 and a plus 11 place differential and a top 15 finish with the Folds of Honor, I expect people will try to play him at his salary and starting 16th. The far better play, in my opinion, is Ryan Newman. I don't like the potential here for Austin Dillon this week, and from what we've seen, Austin Dillon doesn't really have immaculate races unless he somehow miraculously avoids a lot of carnage. Even starting 16th with a juicy price tag of 7,600, I don't want anything to do with him this week. Liehr, do you have anything to change my opinion?
Honestly, not, brother. He's got an average start of 16.6 and average finish of 17.4. I mean, the only reason I would possibly, extrapolate having at least one of him would be just to percentages on ownership. That would probably be the only argument for me to roster him once. But honestly, I'm not even looking towards that direction because I have value way other places than Austin Dillon. So you guys out there, make sure you put Jimmy Johnson and Austin Dillon on your teams because they're going to be hitting this week.
I mean, that's only happened a handful of times.
Yeah. So we've already completed 33% of your lineups for you.
All right, kids. I think it's late enough in the evening that clearly Liehr and I have gone slap happy, and we want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching the show as always. Hopefully, we're winning a lot of money this week. Want to give a shout out, Liehr? Go ahead and shout out to the winner last week and the league leader.
Yeah, so congratulations to DiTuno for his DFS score of 372 last week. Taking it home with the winning lineup of Clint Boyer with a 55.5, Ty Dillon with a 22, Denny Hamlin with a 59.5, Kevin Harvick, the Dominator, going to be rolling back twice this week with a 132.25, David Reagan with a 28, and my boy Martin Truex Jr. with a 74.75 for a grand total of 372. And also congratulations and a big Texas hello to our boy Jamie Dukes down there in Texas for being the overall points leader right now with 74 points. So make sure you get on there and fill your lineups out, folks.
Right, and the way the scoring's set, you can miss a week or two and still win this thing.
Still have an opportunity.
Yeah, so it's definitely still open after 2 weeks for anyone to take it down and win that autographed diecast of their choice.
Pretty competitive league, man. We've gotten some comments about it, and we have some awesome players in this league. Some
of the top players in fantasy NASCAR in this league. Let's win some money this week. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully everybody else is enjoying the better weather than what's in Las Vegas this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend, brother. I think it's going to be awesome competitive racing. When it comes down to the race itself, I think we're going to have, at least two dominators here at this race. I believe that Harvick's definitely going to be one of them. And more than likely, based on what we can see and based on the history, probably looking like it's going to be one of the Penske cars. Keselowski. So, Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for watching the show.
Later, y'all.